Good afternoon, and this is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and this is Super Secret Project Sketch. That flows as well as last time I did it. Okay, today, and not to say it's a deep character, because I think she showed up in 2 or 3 cartoons, not many, but she was, I firmly believe, the prototype for Jessica Rabbit, and that is Red Hot Riding Hood. As you can't see it because it's just too darn bright on here. So let me see here. There we go. Apparently at this angle you can see it. So I happen to like this character because she just, I mean, she was like literally they just wanted just a sex pot on screen, and they weren't hiding it at all, and it just completely worked. And that's what I thought was really fun about this character was they were like, no, this is gonna be a hot chick on screen, and all the guys would be wolves, and they'd be chasing after her, and they'd all be drooling and stuff, and then she'd be singing and dancing. I mean, it was proto Jessica Rabbit. I mean, she just totally worked. So yeah, no, I'm just gonna draw her. I mean, it's not like she's like my most favorite character ever, but I remember like watching her when as a kid, going like, "That's a hot chick." Hence the name. So let's do this thing. Let's totally do this thing. And let me get that light off of. There we go. It's a little bright there. That is a little bright. Okay. Wait, maybe we can see the screen now? No, still too bright. I think I need to adjust my camera a little bit. Anywho, trust me, she's on my screen. So, let's do this thing. Now, one of the things I kind of really like about early American animation, and frankly, as I understand it, you might get yourself some historians there. Let me adjust that a little bit. Saying otherwise, but as I understand it, is it Osamu Tezuka? I think I got that name right. I believe it's Osamu Tezuka. Anywho, did, I believe, Astro Boy and a bunch of that. I mean, the old black and white anime, the early stuff, like the granddaddy dude of anime, or at least one of them. Really loved, and I believe it was Betty Boop, and I think it was primarily Betty Boop. Anyways, I'm trying to go off of a brain that has a lot of holes in it. But there's a lot about early American animation and anime that really actually shares some qualities that I happen to, that I've always liked, and I'm surprised that people don't notice. And I think a little Red Hot Riding Hood here shares some of those qualities. Oh, no. I can see the screen at home, so if you're wondering, that's why I kind of react strangely. If I hold it at this angle, it shows up just fine. There is wonderful comparisons between early American animation and styles. Not all of them, I'm not saying every single one. Betty Boop, this character, a bunch of others. Specifically, I think when America's oldie animators was drawing like attractive or super hot female characters, and then I think Japan, I'm not saying they ripped us off. I think they saw some stuff and they took notes, and they're like, yeah, we like this, we don't like that, and clearly developed their own style. They clearly have their own tradition. But I'm looking at some similarities here that are kind of massive. So I'm just going to start drawing her, and I don't actually have a whole lot to say about her because, like I said, I think she was in 2 or 3 cartoons. And I don't think she was ever the main character. But I just always liked the design. I think what hot redhead, curvy, half naked, blah blah blah, young boy. What do you expect? But there's a certain nice round fluidity that she has. My lead just ran out. 1 second. Come on. Do not try this at home. There we go. Got lead back. There's a certain, like, wonderful roundness, which is what I liked about early anime. And when I mean early anime, I mean just about everything up until about the 90s, where they started using a bunch of straight lines. We're starting to get back to some fluidity over there again, which is nice. But for a long time, they had a lot of very round, curvy, flowy lines. Whether that is on, you know, a hot chick, I'm sorry, let me get both hands up there, a hot chick or not, is irrelevant. They were very good at having round, flowing lines. And one of the things that personally I enjoy, not only seeing, but drawing, is nice, round, flowing shapes. So when people go, and admittedly not on this show you don't see a lot of it, but when I draw characters, male or female, I go for exaggeration because big, round, flowing shapes. So when I draw like big muscled dudes, one of the reasons why I love doing that is big, round, flowing shapes. When I draw curvaceous women, big, round, flowing shapes. And that's one of the things that I really liked about some of these older styles. And not that they were over-sexualized necessarily, but they went in there were like straight lines, who cares? You know, so every single time they could really go in and fill in a round form, they would. Early anime, and when I mean early anime, I mean, shoot, early 90s to late 80s on back, they had kind of the same mentality, which is big, round, flowing shapes. And yes, that includes big, round eyes, big, round shapes for mouths when they're yelling, yada, yada. So, I actually am going to go off of the little, not that you can see, the little image in the corner there where she's kind of looking up and she's at an angle. There's something about that that's just kind of nice. If I seem a little frazzled, I literally was in the middle of another project, and then I suddenly realized what time it was, and I threw the show together at the last second. Been getting my Pinterest updated, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw my old sketches up there. How many do I have? 70-some sketches later. I'm like filling in all the hashtags and blah, 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 and this and that, and you know, writing the little blurbs and whatever. Not that they're all that complicated, but so sort of in the middle of that, and I was like honed in, I was locked in on it, and suddenly I looked up, I'm like, oh shoot, I've got a show in 20 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's not like, you know, yeah, it's not like I've got a whole lot in the way of viewers, but I still feel the need to show up, you know. My old eyes are bad. Let me get a close look here. Okay, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I particularly like about the design, and you can see it in the side view, and it's really funny. It's a shape that is stereotypically anime, stereotypically Japanese, but it's that nose that comes straight out, and then you got the mouth. That little whoop whoop shape. American cartoon. And I'm not saying we did it first, we're better. I'm just saying that's one of the reasons why I like these styles, is there's something about that that is just like super fun. And I think we did it first. They did it first. I'm not, or maybe it happened at the same time. I'm not sure. But regardless, It's a fun shape. It's a very fun shape. Need to get her eyebrows up higher. There we go. It's a very fun shape. It's very attractive in many styles. It doesn't really matter because it sort of has that dollish cuteness. It's funny, a lot of people, I've heard people describe it as a childishness, and it's like, kids don't actually sort of look like that. It's just more of this weird dollishness. At least to me. Maybe to some people it's really kiddish looking. To me, it just looks more like an exaggerated, weird doll. I guess maybe baby dolls. Maybe that came from baby dolls. Maybe it is kiddish. I don't know. I'm just going to draw her. It's actually funny as I'm sketching this, I'm trying to specifically not fall back into the tricks I used to do when I did more of the sort of the Japanese-ish style. But it's kind of tough because this is so close. I'm trying to kind of just study how this is being done. And in case anyone's out there in TV land is really wondering, I really do this other than, to kind of get my name out there and do the normal kind of marketing thing for my art. I specifically do this to kind of study as many different styles as I can and different ways that cartoonists put stuff together. Primarily because I just think it's good practice. There we go. And then later on, hopefully it will do I'm going to change her mouth from the original version. But then I kind of go back and when I do my own stuff, I've got like a bunch of different kinds of ways of cartoonists doing stuff in different time periods in different countries and stuff, and then try to have like a library in my head to create my own characters from. It's funny, I did some 3D modeled characters for a contest. Had the big round pouty like old style cartoon lips, and a lot of people just were kind of, I don't want to say hating on it, but strong opinions, had strong opinions. And I'm just looking at it going like, and it's like, you can look at Jessica Rabbit, and you can see the same kind of big, like overly done lips. And I just end up looking at it going like, I think it's just cute. I mean, it's not realistic. I mean, the sorceress from Grayskull that I did a couple episodes back is far more realistic lips and arguably to some people more attractive. But this is a cartoon character, and I mean, they're caricatures. And so that's kind of what I was going for. I'm not entirely sure people caught that when I was doing the one contest. But I can entirely see why they don't. They're like, oh, it's over-sexualized, it's blah, blah, blah. It's a cartoon character. If you want a complicated tapestry of the inner workings of a very highly developed character, why are you looking at cartoon characters? To me, I'm going like, no, I like a well-developed cartoon character, but it is, in fact, a cartoon character. It is an archetype, it's a stereotype, it's not a novel, it's a sentence. It's not a huge, massive, complex thing. It's somebody has to look at it for like 2 or 3 seconds and understand what it is. And to do that, sometimes you got to do these really simple, and I think they're wonderful personally because they're very readable. When you go in, you're like, Well, we need an attractive character. The audience needs to read an attractive character, and it needs to click in their head immediately. They need to understand it. Then don't go in and make something that 90% of the people will not read as an attractive character. You go in with something that everybody gets. I'm not saying that makes it clever. I'm saying that makes it readable, and that's typically a cartoon. I mean, you look at the most effective cartoons ever done. She needs more on the forehead. You look at the, most effective ones ever done. By a very wide margin, they're super simple, they're super straightforward, they're super readable. You look at Mickey Mouse, you get Mickey Mouse. You look at Goofy, you see a doofus. And I love that doofus. But you can see it. I mean, and if you... I've just been in some weird conversations where people were wanting, I guess, cartoons to be more than they are. And I'm already going like, they're already wonderful. Why turn them into something that they're not? There's a rich history of character designs and little tricks, and it's sort of like a written language, really. I'm going to get rid of some lines here because I'm starting to get lost. I'm in that important stage where you got to make sure all the base shapes are in the right spot, and I've made some big changes, and I've got some conflicting lines that they're messing with me. Right now I'm trying to kind of nail how her skull works. And again, cartoons are big, squishy, floppy, squash and stretch kind of things. But it's still awfully nice to know where the pieces and parts are underneath all that squash and stretch. So if I can go in and generally figure out where the skull is, that really helps me make sure that the head seems roughly the right shape. The forehead is flowing in underneath the hair roughly in the right way. And is there 1,000 ways of doing it? Yeah, but that's how I prefer to do it. So, okay. Okay, she doesn't have elfish ears, but she does, however, have nice, simple... Kind of actually reminds me of sort of the cuter versions of the ears that the Seven Dwarves had. It's early animation. So she's got kind of a super simple ears there. So typically, when I'm working on characters like this, I attempt to get the general layout down. Now, I kind of concentrated on the face a little bit more, mostly because I was kind of trying to figure out the scale of everything by comparison to the relationships of her eyes, nose, and mouth, and then base the skull off of that. But notice I didn't finish it. I just sort of use them as landmarks to kind of inform me of where the volume of the skull is, so I can kind of figure out where roughly the neck is. And I think I want to go in and I want to put her shoulder and her other shoulder. Okay. So I'm going to go and put quick, simple lines down, and this step is very important because you're figuring out where things are on your page, how big things are, blah, blah, blah. So when I go and I put a couple quick lines down, I'm like, there's her shoulder, there's her shoulder. Okay, is it a good shape? Is it a nice round shape? Well, you know how you figure that out? Take that shape you just did. And you're probably going to erase the lines anyway, but you do a nice round flowing. Does that look good? even if you're not going to totally use everything, it helps to inform you where other pieces and parts are. Okay. So shoulder, neck, skull, ear, little 7 dwarves ear, which is actually kind of cute now that I'm thinking about it. She has some hairstyle I have never quite seen before. I'm sure there's probably a real version of it in the real world. However, they drew it in such a way that you can see what the heck it's generally doing. So I'm going to do my best. I typically even when I know what's happening, I try to put the hairline in anyway. It helps. Besides, part of a character is knowing where their hairline is. Some people's hairlines are like lower, some are higher. I'm starting to sort of get the Vincent Price thing going on, which is frankly kind of awesome. And if you look at, different races, different ages, different blah blah, different that, this, yada yada, you're going to get different hairlines. And when you're trying to develop characters, that's one of the many things that you can adjust. Now, is her hairline going to be totally visible? No. Is it going to be partially visible? Oh yeah. So I try to figure out where the point is, blah, blah, blah. In this case, her hair, which, there we go, and I'm sorry that the lighting in the screen is just not matching up, is she has hair that is pulled back, so I know for a fact we're going to get that little part of her hair. And then she's just got, like, some kind of crazy ultra bang going on, and I'm not sure even how remotely that works, but it doesn't matter. Because they're big round shapes that I can easily replicate, and I don't want to take it too far from, the character. Okay, so she has hair that's pulled back here. And I'm going to... Is that a little band? She's got a bow in her hair. Okay, I'm assuming she does not have a hairband. I'm assuming there's just a little bow in her hair, because I'm seeing no bands of any kind. It just appears to be a little bow. And then what I'm going to do is, because this is big round shapes that I can generally simply replicate, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the rest of it, which is go in, try to get the shapes about the right size, about the right shape. I know. I feel like Austin Powers sometimes. Those moments where he sounds like a total doofus, sort of saying the same words over and over again. Let myself introduce myself, kind of thing. The shape is the blah, 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 yada, schmackety, the shape, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying. God, I hope you know what I'm saying. And yes, this is a wonderful time to get messy, because 4H pencil erases really, really well. And which is why this is also super light, super good for layout. And once you've layered it, you've applied it down thick enough, it also darkens up quite nicely. And nowhere near as nice as like the soft leads. Those are like real dark, but dark doesn't help me here. Easy manipulation. I just feel as if this should come out more. Yeah, I literally do not know what this hair does. This is just the craziest freaking hair. So I'm going to literally have to just sort of trust in their design and try to make sense that it makes sense out of something that doesn't seem to make sense, which is totally fine. I'm sure this. Yeah, this is amazing. I'm actually kind of not understanding what this hair is doing. I'm just going to have to make it up. Okay, and then our little bow is right about here. I'll readdress that later. Neck bows or ribbons, neck ribbons. She's got all kinds of little sexy ribbons everywhere, which is fine with me. All right, so what I've generally done here, and it is, yes, a mess. Is I'm going to go in, kind of fill the blank in a little bit in a few spots, just so I generally know what I'm actually looking at. I'm going to get I'm not going to actually fill the chest in, but I'm going to get the top of her bust in, shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to get to a point where I can start cleaning stuff out, because frankly, I've got a buttload of lines. And I need to get rid of them. So, at this point, yep, total mess, but that's the wonderful thing about sketching and early on in a sketch is every little artistic sin you have committed, and I have committed a lot of them over the years, is you're going to want to go in then and be smart about it. I mean, you don't sit there and just slop lines down, and then you just don't go in and rip lines out. Is you're trying to figure out where stuff is. So once I've generally figured out the skull, I'm happy with the skull. I figured out where the eyes are, happy with the eyes. Figured out where the hair is, happy with the hair. Okay, then I don't need to be looking at a whole lot of the skull anymore, do I? I find it's actually easier just having the skull in there and erasing it, taking a couple minutes to figure out where that circle is, than it is going in and trying to fill in eyebrows, hair, ears, blah, 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 not knowing where the skull is. I find that you'll get way more mistakes not doing the preliminary shapes. So that's what I'm doing with the preliminary shapes, being satisfied with the preliminary shapes, and then removing stuff that I don't need anymore. So all that garbage in her hair is out of the way. I got garbage on her face. Now I can get rid of that because I no longer need it, because I know where the face is. Can't wait to use my electric eraser later, but it would be a complete waste because this is a normal eraser. It works just fine. Normally, I typically put a little bit more detail into the ears, but because she is a older style character, I'm going to keep them super simple. Add just a little bit more detail, but not much. Loud music in cars. At least it sounds good to them. so take this opportunity to make sure we all know what's going on in the drawing. And so, as being part of that, I'm figuring out where kind of her eye socket is. And a lot of people go, why bother with that? Well, generally where the top of the eye socket is typically where your eyebrow starts. It moves up and down, but your eye socket is typically there. So when you've got an eyeball, you've got an eye socket, you know where your eyelids are, you know where your eyebrows are. And I can go in and just automatically put initial eyebrow shapes in. And again, quick, simple, don't get married to it, just put it down. Oh, and I've got some viewers. Okay, just so everybody knows, I'm typically spending more time looking at my drawing, so if anyone's messaging me right now, I'm sorry if I'm not responding. I'm trying to get the drawing figured out. Typically, and right now she's taking a nap, my wife handles the messaging part of it for me. She's like my DJ. The right word? DJ's not the right word. DJ's not the right word. Neither is sidekick. Social media partner? That sounds too stupid. Okay, well, anyway, she's resting right now, so. All right, should probably stop yakking and concentrate on the sketch. And as you can see, notice how earlier I said put the whole circle for the shoulder in. We'll probably get rid of it later. Gone. However, the thing that did give me is a nice arc on the shoulder, and I do know that in one's head, if you're not even thinking about it, you can still kind of feel a flow in the lines, even if the lines are no longer connected. How you doing, sweetie? Nice. She's waking up. Right. What now?
It's been a long week and a half.
Oh, I know, hon. That's why I'm not bothering you. I'm actually glad you were taking a nap, to be honest. We're gonna get our, am I too old to say groove back on? I mean, we're the right generation, right? We're allowed to say that?
We can say whatever the heck we want.
This is true. But it still just, it just doesn't quite sound right coming out of my mouth. / it sounds right coming out of my mouth. I'm not sure how that works. That's why I was kind of conflicted there for a second. I was like, wait a minute.
Yes, we are of the right generation.
God, I sound old. Trying to think if I want to actually add detail to this bow or not. I kind of feel as if keeping it simple is the best way of doing it. Well, no?
No detail to the bow.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling. I just kind of feel like a couple shapes, and that's about it. Because it's real funny. Like, I can totally see like filling it in, but it just isn't. It totally isn't doing it for me. I think I'm going to do the same thing down here on her little neck ribbon. I'm just going to keep it like real simple. I think we got a couple viewers now.
I'm waiting for the ad to pass so I can actually take a look at it.
Darn you, advertising. Maybe someday I'll get a cut. Maybe not, man. All right. So once you kind of get to the point where you start cleaning it up, and you kind of get rid of the junk, and you get rid of all the freaking eraser shavings. You can then start assessing. Simply put, like what I was doing over here, I was going like, man, that big round line was just super boring. And it was super dull. So I kind of want to go in, add a little bit of, you know what? I want to cover up part of this eye over here. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to come in, take some of this info, and right about over her eyebrow. Okay, see that's already, that line right there is already changing the flow a little bit. And I think I want to go in and kind of do a little bit of like a mussed up hair. It's mussed up, is that the right word? Messed up.
Yes, both work properly.
Massed up.
Masked up is good.
I'm changing too many vowels here.
No, messed and must can work in the same context. Mask can also work in the same context, but it takes it from a different meaning.
I was about to say it's all masked up.
Well, if you go masked up, then we're talking from the one Kevin Smith movie that broke out that shoot, the blonde chick, as my brain is still waking up. That basically brought her in the stardom. The one Mallrats. There we go.
Mallrats. Oh, yeah. That was you watched that movie once and you're like, I'm good.
the hair masked.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah.
You're picking up what I'm laying down.
Yes. Well. Not with this old back.
And you're making me carry it. Screw you.
There we go. I missed you, sweetie. I'm glad you got a nap, but I was going like, I need my partner.
Aww.
I do.
Oh,
You're
boy.
the best freaking thing in my life. I need you back. Where's my baby?
Oh, baby.
Oh, my darling. Oh, my right time down. That was the frog, right? His name
Michigan
was.
J. Frog.
What was it?
Michigan J. Frog.
Michigan J. Frog. I was like, I know that there's a letter in there.
Well, you should
Exactly right. That was the dumbest thing I could have said, but that was my brain was like, there's a letter in there. And a state. Is there a state? Florida P. Toad? No.
Know.
That's the best I had at that second.
No, I mean, it's from the state. It's the state you're from.
That's the thing. That's the sad thing. I'm from Michigan, and I couldn't
Exactly.
remember his name had the word Michigan in it.
Which I'm a bit sad that Michigan doesn't have anything for him.
It really does confuse me because
Maybe.
he's an awesome like little mascot character, and you kind of look at an entire state and go like, you're known for trees, squirrels, and deer. So you've got at least got a nature
militia.
thing going on. Oh, and and RoboCop actually.
No, I'm gonna say militia.
Okay, yes, we're also known for Michigan militias. To be fair, they're not as plentiful as some people think they are. No, I gotta say, in all of nerddom, there's three things Michigan can claim: RoboCop, the main location for the Evil Dead series, and James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader. I'm sure there's other things, but those are the three things where I can go like, yeah, and like New York has like a million things, and Michigan has like three. But you got to admit they're a pretty good three, you know.
Okay, let me honor RoboCop by singing part of the theme song.
Oh God, I love RoboCop. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, that movie's awesome.
The first RoboCop movie, I'm not going to say is perfection. I'm not going to say is the best movie ever, but for what it is, it's pretty amazing.
Especially the fact that that's like literally the very first rated X movie we saw in our generation. Yeah,
Did that actually come out in the theater as X?
No, it was R, but it originally was rated X because of the all.
Yeah, because I saw the later X rated version. RoboCop was X rated for violence. I saw that version, and to be completely honest, I was like, well, that's a little excessive. But I was going like, it wasn't that much different than the R-rated version.
It's 80s violence. I mean, I think all of the excessive, like, murderification of Murphy when he goes down with the guns.
It wasn't that scene that did it.
No, it was the
It was the one guy
scene.
that got blown down by the ED-209 and it just kept pumping lead into him.
Well, that was going to be one of my other points. Because there's going to be three main scenes that I can remember that earned this.
That was the one I recall. What were the other ones?
One was, of course, the murdification of Murphy, and then the other one.
The murdification of Murphy.
Yeah, that's my new band name. How do you like it?
The murdification of Murphy.
Yes.
You're right. That is a band name if I've ever heard one.
Heck
I would
yeah.
listen to the murdification of Murphy.
Heck yeah. You know, it's right next to the miseducation of Lauren. I was going to say Lauren Phelps. Wow, I completely botched one of my favorite R&B and hip hop chicks. Wow. Well, that joke went down real quick.
Yeah, I was about to say, honey, I'm married to you and I'm softly lost at the moment. So I'm like, yes, honey. That makes some sense.
Gentle nod. Just let her keep talking. Let her keep talking.
Yes, sweetie. That was clever.
No. Side. The 80s sitcom side look.
Honey, that was brilliant.
Laugh track.
Oh. Like, there's a lot of things about the 80s that I miss. The laugh tracks are not one of them. Even as a little kid, I was like, no, that isn't real. That wasn't even funny.
Well, of course, they were stupid and made to pump up the crowd that was there. But what creeps me out is the fact that you're listening to the laughter of dead people.
Oh, yeah, that's even
creepy.
creepier, yeah.
Well, but
should there be like a slasher movie called Laugh Track? You know, like people are watching like episodes of Seinfeld and it's sort of like The Ring, you know, when you put like the video cassette in and then like the chick pops out, but instead you play syndicated episodes of Seinfeld, and then when the laugh track pops in, suddenly you're surrounded by dead people laughing. I mean, there's like sitting next to you, like all corpseified, just giggling at like non-existent jokes.
There's one, and then there's also the big budget movie. Okay, DC, I'm gonna give you this one as a freebie as long as I get a cut. That could be a really great Joker story of him getting people once again through laugh tracks and through a type of hypnosis with a hearing thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. That feels like they should have done that.
Mm-hmm. And people laugh themselves to death by hearing
people that are already dead laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that feels like a Joker story to me.
All right, and any of my favorite DC writers who are on Batman right now.
All right, DC. We gave that to you for free.
I know a couple of the artists or the writers' names, but people like Greg Capullo, one of my favorite Batman artists. Hey man, talking to you if you're listening. Let's do this. Can you hook me up? Hook us up. Hey man, yo. Alright? Okay.
I'll just settle for a 3% cut. Yeah, that's happening.
In the comic book world, please, that's barely how much the artists and writers get.
Yeah.
Even that. But okay, now going back to my previous
I was about
joke.
to say, what were we talking about?
Yeah, the previous joke where I was saying the murdification of Murphy. The joke was going to be they was sitting next to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, one of my favorite R&B hip hop chicks, right?
Okay, now give me credit. I at least recognize the name.
Yes, you would know her because she was the lead girl singing in wow, I am still waking up.
Well, you're doing pretty good for getting right out of a nap there, sweetie. You just kind of sprang up on your feet.
Sister Act 2. She was one of the girls. She was the lead girl singing at the end.
That's a movie I haven't seen in a while.
That's how you would know her.
Yes.
Yes.
At one point in time, Whoopi Goldberg was funny.
Hey, she's still funny.
I'm not saying she isn't. I'm just saying that used to be her bread and butter. You know, she used to be hilarious.
I think now she's like, you know what? I got enough cheddar. I'm going to sit here and enjoy it, which is smart for her to do. But going back to
Yeah, to be fair, I guess I'd be doing the same thing, wouldn't I?
But going back to the previous, we were talking about Michigan J. Frog and RoboCop and Rivals Rated X. And
we were talking about
yes,
that,
we were.
weren't we? Yeah.
Yes, we were. But for me, the scenes that I thought they were is, of course, death. The Ed 209 death.
That was brutal. I will
Yeah.
give them, in the original R cut, the Ed 209 pumping that dude full of lead on the was bad. In the X-rated version, it was only like 6 seconds longer.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like 6 seconds longer of like chunks flying and stuff, and I was like,
dudes
"Oh!" I mean, it
crazy.
wasn't like that much worse, but it was still, you were kind of going like, you're still kind of watching, going like, I don't know if this is worse or if this is just making it redundant.
It's the creepy as a compliment held 3 seconds too long thing.
Yeah, but honestly, I couldn't tell if it was effective or not.
Yeah.
I literally was going like, maybe it wasn't cut for the X rating. Maybe it was just cut on the simple fact that it was just too much.
I think for me, the one scene that made it X-rated for me, even though it was still in the original scene, but it was a bit more, I think, once again, I think cut for time and all that, there's a bit more added to it from the original movie, was the end where the one dude fall into the toxic goop, and he comes out.
Oh, with all the yeah. Well, no, they kept that because that was even on like TV cuts that I had seen.
I thought there was more to that.
There may have been, but what I remember seeing was still pretty. Okay, admittedly, it was light latex rubber, kind of.
But it was effective because I know as a kid, the first time I saw that scene stuck with me for years. It got me for. And I saw that movie. I didn't see it in theaters because we didn't go to theaters because there was too many of us. We went to drive-ins. We're showing our age.
I'm from northern Michigan. We don't have drive-ins.
Hey, I'm from Illinois. We had drive-ins.
You're Florida by comparison to You are. By comparison to northern Michigan. It's like the Arctic Circle up there.
What, you guys don't have summer? Okay, yeah, you have summer for
we have
3
summer.
days.
Yeah, but what we notably have is a winter that can kill people.
Yeah, you get summer for 3 days. And for 3 days, everything is open, including drive-ins. Because I remember, I've seen, dang it, pictures of it.
I've seen pictures of drive-ins.
I've heard of this mysterious thing you call a drive-in.
Yeah, as someone from northern Michigan, I very much enjoy a thing called heating.
But in the
and being indoors.
But in the summertime, it was one of the most fun things I remember.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes, and I wish I could remember what movie we were watching, and I want to say it couldn't have been Gremlins because we weren't
Gremlins
there.
would be amazing in a drive-in.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, and I am blanking on which one it was, but I know I was old enough to remember going to the drive-in. But our family had one of those big old station wagons, and of course, because it was like 7 kids, so mom and dad packed us all in.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. And we literally had a trash bag of popcorn.
Oh, that
was
rules.
Amazing. It was so amazing. I remember this giant black bag, and I think we popped popcorn for like an hour. I think just dumping it in and popping more, making like 2 because we did it on the stovetop. So we make it like 2 and 3 big pots at a time.
Oh, dude, yeah, that would take a while.
So it was pretty awesome.
So you're telling me you had a garbage bag filled with that old style oily popcorn? Oh, dude, that you must have been like asleep, like hard. I love that old popcorn, but it'll knock you out.
And we also had we had the stove top. We also had one of the poppers too that you put like the oil. You put the oil in there and put the popcorn in there. So, I remember it had a black bottom. It had a cast orange tinted plastic top, which I don't know if it was from the oil or from the...
No, we had one of those, and I believe that came from that whole Harvest Orange thing they were doing at that time.
No, was it Harvest Yellow and something orange? I can't remember the golden yellow and Harvest Orange? Something
like that.
No,
I swear to God, I had my uncle... His whole kitchen was 70s brown and that freaking pumpkin orange.
Ours was the gold and white with brown cabinets, and
at least it wasn't that like pea soup green color that they did.
We had a phone that was that color.
Yeah, it was even as a little kid in the early 80s. I was like, that is ugly as butt. Now I loved the orange.
Yeah, I like the orange and the gold.
But pea soup green, man, that was. I'm still having a hard time getting my head wrapped around somebody in a corporate meeting selling the concept of selling anything that's pea soup green as a good idea.
My sister
other than, of course, pea soup.
My sister actually set the curtains on fire, so those curtains went in the line. Whoopsie, in the kitchen.
So that was basically a public service at that point.
I wasn't old enough to remember. I just hear the stories. but back to the drive-in thing. All right, so we're getting all that stuff, and we get into the to the station wagon, and we go. And I know, I can't remember if anybody was under the blanket with me, but I know I got covered, so they didn't have to pay for all 7 kids. Again, a lot of kids. So you just kind of hid and you put.
Now remember, kids, stay on the straight and narrow. Now get under this blanket so we don't have to pay for you.
Hey, my dad was a cop. Shut up. I'm just kidding.
No, which is why it's kind of awesome.
Whoever is in the chat said that color was called avocado.
That is awesome.
Yes, I do remember that because Kate. Oh, okay, I'll see Kate.
Thank you. Who was her name?
Jim actually used to say that. Yeah, they're going by the name of it as Delirium.
Delirium. No. I'm learning the technology. It's right there, Delirium. I believe it was avocado. Right on, man. Or
Jim.
ma'am. Delirium. Right on, Delirium.
Cat and Jim would actually talk about that. So yeah, that was one of the ones.
Now, was the orange called Harvest Orange, or what was it called? I forget.
I want to say it was Harvest Orange because Harvest is
like
with
pumpkins and blah blah blah.
And then I think it was like Goldenrod Yellow or something.
That also sounds right.
Us being art majors, we should know colors.
No, we were art majors way after that was a trend, so I think we can have some slack cut for us on that one.
I type in Harvest OR and it immediately pops up as organs. I'm like, oh, please don't.
I was about to say you might have just Googled something that would have given you a moment. I've had those moments. I'm trying to remember somebody at work. God, I'm trying to remember why bittersweet.
Bittersweet and goldenrod. add a person.
Nice. We have a knowledgeable one. Because I'm going like, man, I'm trying to remember.
Harvest Gold, there we go, is a whitish gold color popular with the kitchen and other appliances in the 1970s. And we even have cool, I have a color coordinates and a Pantone for it. And
you have a Pantone, right on.
Right on.
Now, I am not somebody that always degrades the old styles. The yellow was fine. I actually, and I think it's because I'm sort of a Halloween person. I really actually liked that orange, but that avocado, man, I never liked that color.
He says, my mom still loves those colors.
and your mom is right for doing so. Your mom is right for doing so, because I am also of the opinion that whatever your love is basically sacred. You get your thing. I just don't, or anybody else just doesn't have to agree with you. So it's totally awesome that she loves those colors.
And the thing is, those
because I
colors
love some ugly stuff too.
The thing
So
is, those colors aren't really that bad. Like,
no, they're not.
I love goldenrod. I think it's actually really
Goldenrod's
pretty
a decent color,
Yeah.
and that orange is kind of a wonderful cartoon orange.
And it's a nice warm and it's a warm color. So
It
I can
is.
see why they did that for a lot of homes to make it.
It's even a little
warm and
candy-like, which is awesome.
inviting. Yeah, they did it to be warm and inviting.
But avocado, it's like you're literally painting things in pea soup. It's just
I think it was the California trend for that one because avocados are everywhere, and that one it started with a lot of the fashion and then went from there for the furniture and all that. And I think it became really popular with a lot of the mod stuff, which.
no, that does make sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have like huge mod friends for everyone out there in TV land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
She's a '70s chick. Yeah,
righteous.
that's totally awesome because
Righteous, man.
you know, like technically we're '80s kids, and I try to stay up to date. That's a total joke because you can't. But what I try to do is I try to love what's good and just not care for what's not good. So there was some stuff in the '80s that just sucked. Laugh tracks, for example. I've got some nostalgia for the '80s. I've got some friends that have like super nostalgia for the '80s, and so I mean I get it. I'm just not a huge like nostalgia guy.
Because the '80s, of course, that's where a lot of our personalities are cemented and all. Which say our preteens and teens were all of our
Well, that's where my love of cartoons came from. Was the late '70s to early '90s was where my love came from, and ever since then I've been trying to learn from everything. But my core stuff is '70s, '80s, and '90s American and Japanese animation. You know, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But like for example, Red Hot Riding Hood here. Does she show up on the screen? Okay, that's not too bad. For some reason, it just watch as it blows out. It blows out. She's, what is she, 30s?
I want to say 54.
Oh, 50s. Wow, was I ever off? I'm usually a little better than that.
I checked to make sure, but I thought she was 54.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you could look that up, because honestly, I'm like looking at her blank and going like, I remember she's Tex Avery.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tex Avery should be a bit more remembered than they are.
I know he's in some type of Hall of Fame of some sort.
He should be, because
Tex. I'm sorry, the regular cartoon was original cartoon was 1943.
Oh, I feel so much better. I'm only like 10 years off then. Because I was about to say, because she had like a flapper is the wrong word, but she had that old style kind of performance, hot chick performance. Burlesque. Thank you. Hot chick performance.
Attaboy.
That is an amazingly stupid phrase. High five me. You suck. You know? God, Aaron, really?
I give you at least you tried star.
I did, yeah. For everyone out there, I suffer from one major problem. I can really only do one thing at a time well. Talking and doing this, I am completely stretching my limits of what I can do. At least you try, yeah. That is, I should have that tattooed on my forehead. At least I freaking tried.
But I'm chewing on a granola bar paying a snack.
All right. You know, you masticate the heck out of that granola.
Bet I will.
She's a serial masticator.
With my incisors and my
molars.
And my molars.
I learned that in the 80s.
80s kids, high five. But what we're talking about now?
I don't have a clue anymore.
We're talking about Red Hot Riding.
Red Hot Riding, yes, we were. We were talking about dates and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And what type of performer? She was. If I remember, her performance. And I can't think of who the performance was based off of, but I know her singing voice was based off of Lena Horne.
Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who that is. I'm not even sure I recognize the name.
She was one of the very first famous black performers.
Now, isn't that interesting? Because Betty Boop was also based off of a black performer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Betty Boop was based off of, and I once again blanked on her name, but I remember the character that she was, or the person she was based on.
Yeah, I saw a photo of her too, and I literally looked at this photo of this flapper, this old style black flapper. And I saw a picture of her and I just went, oh my God, that's Betty Boop. And you never think about Betty Boop being black. And well, of course, Red Hot Riding Hood here is a classic hot redhead. Hence, Jessica Rabbit in my mind came from this character. But it just didn't occur to me to think that they based that off of a black singer. On the same note, it's not like you can ever think back that far and just make assumptions like you knew what was going on. But
let's see, looking up Betty Boop now.
it's actually really funny. We have Betty Boop as a license at work. And it doesn't occur to anybody that she is supposed to be a sex symbol.
Well, it says here
At work, which is really funny because you look at her and you go like, okay, I am way more than decades delivered from her. But she's clearly a sex symbol. If you think back that far, that's what the Flappers were. The Flappers were basically sex symbols. They were, flaunting, the current traditional trends of the time, blah, blah, blah.
All right, it says that there's actually 3 different people that is rumored she's supposed to be based off of.
Okay, now that I was about to say, one person sounded not right.
Clara Bow is often given credit as being the inspiration for Betty Boop. Some say that she actually began as a caricature of a singer named Helen Kane.
I want to say that's the one. Is that the okay? Okay.
And then they said who performed in a style popular with many talented performers of the day. Wow, including black singer Baby Esther Jones.
That is who I was thinking of. Okay.
Right. And fun fact: apparently, originally she was an anthropomorphic French poodle.
I'm glad they changed that. I mean, it could have been good, but I'm glad they changed it because even though most people don't think much about Betty Boop anymore, she's still pretty iconic.
Betty Boop appeared as a supporting character in 10 cartoons as a flapper girl with more heart than brains, which is an individual cartoon. She was called Nancy Lee or Nan McGrew, derived from the 1930 Helen Kane film Dangerous Nan McGrew, usually serving as a girlfriend to the studio star Bimbo. Yes, the name is actually Bimbo.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that the name of the dog. Wasn't her dog named Bimbo?
Actually,
because there was like a little white bulldog.
Yeah, that's him.
I get points.
One. Got one, yay!
I got one.
Originally, his original name was called Fritz. Let's see. Within a year, Betty made the transition from an incidental human canine breed to a completely human female character. While much credit has been given to Grim Natwick for helping to transform Max Fleischer's creation, her transition into cute cartoon girl was also in part due to the work of Bernie Wolf, Otto Fuhr, Seymour Neidl, Doc Crandall, William Bowski, and James Seamus Colhane. By the release of Any Rags, Betty Boop was forever established as a human character. Her floppy poodle ears became hoop earrings, and her black poodle nose became a girl's button-like nose.
That makes sense.
And the last time we saw her, of course, was 50 years later in Roger Rabbit.
Work's been pretty slow since Toons went to color.
But I still got it, Eddie. Boop,
Yeah, you do, Betty. Gotta love that movie.
She's married to Roger?
yeah.
What a lucky girl!
Oh, man.
I still think that's one of the most important movies ever made.
Yes, it is.
It was magic when it came out, and it's magic today. And I know that it's magic because it's a movie that I can't watch that often. I've actually found that the more important the movies are, the less I'm able to watch them repeatedly. It's like I have to wait like 5 years.
Don't you know why I don't watch a lot of stuff on repeat? Because I like to see it over. I like to see it fresh again.
It's like The Incredibles. I firmly believe The Incredibles is an amazing movie. And as much as I love The Incredibles, and I really love The Incredibles, I can't stick it in that often. I just can't. And I've tried to be like, man, I'm going to stick something in. I'm going to work on my blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to play the... And then I grab it and I go like, man, I just doesn't feel right. I just, like, I got to wait longer to... Which sounds silly, but it seems to be something I've discovered about myself. If it's important, I can't watch it that often. If it's just super fun and stupid, I'll stick it in all the time. Hence why I watch like a lot of James Bond movies and stuff where I'm like, I'm not saying these aren't great movies, but they're not genius, but man, are they fun. Yes, with all the criticisms included, I will more than agree that there's some criticisms in a couple of these movies that are to be had, but...
But it's James Bond.
It is.
We love James Bond.
We do. And every single version of him. And yes, that includes Timothy Dalton. But only for the second movie, not that first one. That first one sucked. The first Timothy Dalton Bond, dreadful. It has a couple moments, but it's dreadful. The second one, I got to admit, I rewatched it like 2 months ago. The second Timothy Dalton Bond was actually really good. I will totally give them credit. The second one was actually quite good. However, the first one was dreadful. Very nice, yes. Yeah, no. No, I give them credit on the first one for an important thing that I think was important. They tried to do different things in James Bond right off the bat in that one. The problem is it formed a terrible movie. But I give them credit for trying something new. The second one, however, they got the balance right. Yeah, it's the wind's blowing. The second one, however, they got the mix right, where they tried some new stuff, but they mixed in some of the old stuff, and it totally worked. Especially, like, one of my favorite Bond girls is in the second Timothy Dalton movie. And it's the big Russian chick that seduces the guy in the power station. When people go like, why that one? I'm like, because she was awesome. She was like this big burly tech chick that like seduces like this loser electrician guy in this factory. Even when I was a kid, I was like, that is awesome. It is actually the reason why I picked it back up again, because I remember that scene being so funny. Then I picked it back up and went, no, actually, she remains one of my favorite Bond chicks. Mm-hmm. And not because she's super hot, but because she was just like this big, awesome chick. You know? And I loved that. I was like, go, you big, awesome chick. You know? All right, now I could sit there continuing to finish this over and over. I want to put a couple, little kind of
That's really good.
details. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want to do a ton more to this because I like the idea of just doing sketches and not overdoing stuff, but it feels like it needs a little bit more, but I feel as if I'm getting close to done. Like, I feel like the eyelashes need a little bit more love. But yeah, no, I actually think Red Hot Riding Hood is a supremely sexy character. Yeah, I'm a full-grown adult saying that, and no, I don't have a problem with being known for saying that. The reason why I'm saying that is Jessica Rabbit is one of the most perfected, sexy female characters ever made. She is. She's just totally, amazing. But 90% of her comes from this character. I believe, at least. And I think that's just I mean... She's just such a great character. I just love this character. Anywho.
Well, she was meant to be a sexy character.
Oh,
there are,
yeah.
The stories of the censoring of that cartoon are amazing, but we'll talk about that in a later
Yeah, well, because I want to do a Jessica Rabbit episode. I want to do several, actually, because I just love Jessica Rabbit. Okay, I need myself a snack. And it's bad to eat on stream, so I have heard. Unless it's macaroni and cheese and you don't use a napkin, then it's highly entertaining.
If that's your stream, heck yeah.
If that's your stream, yeah. Anywho, I want to thank everyone for joining us, especially you, Delirium, because you talked to me. It makes me feel loved.
You love me. You really love me.
I am loved. Anywho.
Social acceptance. Validation.
I just got some acceptance.
Validation.
Validation. All right, got to do my end of the episode ceremony. Gonna do my Mr. Rogers putting my stuff away thing. No, I will not change into a sweater, though yes, I have considered it. Yeah, basically, pretty much, yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Have yourself a good week, and unless something wacky happens, I will be back on tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. Right now, my
Central Time.
Central Time. Right now, my tentative schedule is 4 o'clock Saturday and Sunday Central Time. I'm trying to solidify that. Right now, I'm somebody who has way too much work to do. But that's what I'm attempting to do. So I will catch you guys later. Thank you for joining me. And you have yourself a great week.
Peace out, homies.
Woo-hoo!